Welcome to the Ultimate Gamer Podcast, a show that features conversations with the trailblazers, thought leaders, decision makers, and investors who are defining the gaming and esports space. On the Ultimate Gamer Podcast, we take a journey into this dynamic industry and start to decode and reveal who and what's making news. It's about connecting, and it's about sharing the stories and vision of the people who make gaming and esports a global phenomenon. And now, please welcome your host, student of the game and connected to the esports community, Tommy Knapp.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tommy Knapp, and this is an all-new episode of the All About the Game podcast presented by The Ultimate Gamer. On today's show, I have a conversation with Amanda Sullivan, co-owner and vice president of Aftershock Media Group, a premier gaming and esports-focused influencer marketing and talent agency. She is also co-host on the Next Level talk show, which covers all things gaming. Amanda kicked off our conversation by sharing her drive and enthusiasm for World of Warcraft, business, and sales. After evaluating a role she had in traditional corporate setting and her boss's misunderstanding of the tools she was using to communicate, Discord, she took the leap into talent management when a recruiter presented her with the opportunity. Cause-driven and wanting to bring change to underrepresented groups in the content creator, talent, and gaming space, she started Aftershock Media Group, AMG, with two other friends. AMG works with big brands like Tencent, as well as professional gamers, influencers, and content creators. In addition to the agency, Amanda also started a gaming and esports program called the Next Level Talk Show, which is recorded live. And even though she doesn't really like to be put on the spot, she has always wanted to educate and give back to the community. This allows her to do that. And finally, we discuss scaling, mentorship, and industry leadership. Please join me now for my conversation with Amanda Sullivan.
So what's going on?
Oh, not a whole lot, man. Not a whole lot. Been a pretty busy morning. How about you?
Very busy. Always, it seems like it's that time right now when I probably started saying that, I don't know, maybe after I had my kids, but I used to, like, if you asked me how I was doing, I used to say I'm doing good or I'm doing, great or whatever. But now the way I always reply is busy. I always say I'm busy. I don't know why. I mean, I'm certainly busy, but I don't know why that's what comes out. So anyway.
Because you mentally can't come to terms with just saying good. You're no longer good. You're just busy. It's like a constant.
Yeah. And I guess I think of busy as a good thing, because for me, my life is busy because I'm doing a lot of things that I enjoy. So in that sense, it's really positive.
And especially now during COVID times, people are like, are you busy? And you're like, yes, thankfully I am. Right. So I think it's like an interesting shift in, it's now like you're lucky to be busy.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So you're out in LA?
I am, yes.
Are you from LA or did you move there?
Yeah, so I originally grew up in New York City, born and raised in Manhattan, and came out here with my family several years ago, stayed out here for undergrad as well as grad school, and now I can't go back because it's cold and expensive.
Yeah. Well, how did you make that decision? Because I'm from Syracuse, New York originally. And
I can hear that.
Yeah, right. And I don't, but I know New York accents and I know Boston accents. But I always say if I had a chance to do it again, I went to Ithaca, so Central New York, just south of Syracuse. But if I had a chance to do it again, I would have either gone South Florida, where I am now, or I would go out to the West Coast to USC, UCLA, Cal Berkeley. So how did you make that decision to go all the way? Because that's 3,000 miles.
Yeah, it's very far. So I actually went with my family when I was in high school. Okay. So it wasn't necessarily an adult decision I made, but since graduating, I've almost made it back out there. Okay. I've constantly, like, once a year, I've started to apply for jobs. Like, let me just sprinkle my resume out there, and I'm ready to move. And then something keeps giving me an opportunity here that seems to keep me here.
Right. Now, you mean to go back to New York?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So where in Manhattan? Or are you from?
Grew up on the Upper East Side. Yeah.
On the Upper East Side?
Yeah.
So that's Upper East Side is, I'm thinking Upper West Side is where not Carmine's, and there's like a big church up there. Columbia University's up there on the Upper West Side.
On the West. So I'm over where the mayor's house is by Carl Schurz Park, was. Okay. I was on 88th and East End, just to give my address to everyone, but no longer live there. But very residential and suburban for the actual city. It's not like too crazy.
Could you almost see Yankee Stadium in the Bronx from where you were?
I don't think so. We were on the 20th floor, and I don't think you could.
Okay, that was still further north.
I think, yeah. And also depending on where your window faces probably determines, like, we looked right across the river versus like up.
Yeah. I love New York. It's just so great. So you get back once in a while, right?
Oh, as often as possible.
Yeah, because it's different. I mean, tell me a little bit about the different lifestyle from being Manhattan, and now you're Upper East Side, but it's still New York City. You're still busy. There's so many people there. And then you go out to the West Coast, and everybody thinks of the West Coast as kind of being laid back. And you know, so was that what you found and what you still find now, or is it changing?
I absolutely think that it's still pretty laid back. I had lived in San Diego actually for just a year for a software sales job that I was part of, and everyone there is even more laid back than here in Los Angeles. But there's very much East Coast, West Coast mentality and vibe that people are like, dude, slow down, relax. And I'm like, what do you mean? This is normal pace.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is I was talking to, and I don't know if you know Toa, but Toa Dunn from Riot Games the other day, and he's based in LA. He's their head of music. And he was saying that before he got into Riot and he was head of music, he was in the financial industry. So he was in LA and he was trading. So he was having to wake up at like 5 and because he was on basically Wall Street time, right? And he said at the end of the day it was like 2:30, and he said the day was done and he had nothing to do because he's like, you know, it's the West Coast. And I think about that with sports schedules, right? When you watch like pro sports games, and a lot of times I'm like, okay, it's what, 9 o'clock when they have the primetime games on, sometimes on Sunday, and it's like, wait a second, it's midnight by the time you go to sleep. But for you guys, the sun's just going down.
Oh yeah, exactly. We're like, oh, football's over. Thanks.
Yeah. So take me a little bit. I always love to do this because you and I haven't met. We kind of met online through Surfing Boy, who you're representing, which I want to talk more about that when we get into Aftershock. Yeah. But if you can run me through a little bit of, okay, you moved from Manhattan out to LA, you went to school in LA, but how did you get involved in gaming? Are you a gamer? You know, how did all that happen?
Absolutely. Excellent question. I love to tell this story.
Right.
So I have 2 bachelor's degrees and an MBA, very business focused. Thought I wanted to be in that very corporate sales route, like hard of stone, cold as ice, and just like an absolute shark. And I still am, but I thought I wanted to just stay, you know, very corporate. And I just remember one day, so I've been a gamer for the last 14 years, playing World of Warcraft, and just kind of kept that as a hobby. But one day I was at work and I was talking to some of my gaming friends on Discord, and my boss comes up and he's like, I don't know what that is, but you need to get off that right now. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
And in that moment, I decided, F this, like, I am not doing this anymore. And I was heavily recruited for every job I've been in. I was a top sales performer for software for years. And I hit up all of the recruiters that were after me. And I was like, get me a job in gaming. I don't care what it is. Irrelevant to me. So I applied to Misfits out here in LA and several other companies, and ended up going with an agency where I ran their talent management. So
it was before you skip onto that.
Yeah.
You just said Misfits, and they're right here in our backyard too. So they're based, their headquarters is here in Boca, but I know they have the office in LA and also one in Berlin.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Discord, and for me, and I want to hear like this kind of the story about Discord, because you've been on it now for 12, 14 years, you said?
Well,
how long's Discord been around? I don't even know how Discord.
I don't even know. So gaming back in the day, World of Warcraft, we used Ventrilo and like TeamSpeak. I don't think Discord was around then. This was like the old school push to talk in raid type stuff.
Okay, but you were saying your boss didn't understand it, which is you know, crazy, because you really just, Discord's just another way to communicate. So I don't know why he was so threatened by that, but
it's like Slack.
Right.
Makes no sense.
So, but to me, I talk about that. So you're on it now and you're very comfortable with it, but there's so many different ways to communicate these days, right? Discord tends to be a really strong, a good one. Why is it so strong in gaming? And is it just because it kind of, gamers started on it? It was like, okay, this is our platform, or what do you think the reason is, instead of just, you know, doing email or texting or, you know?
I personally think that gamers just started on it. So any of my friends in any other profession don't utilize Discord in a professional manner.
Right.
I only have used Discord in the gaming industry, and even certain people in gaming still don't use it. I still get invited to Skype chats and like Google Hangouts. So I think it may just be gaming focused because it started for gamers.
Okay, because I just find it. I've been on it. I haven't gotten totally comfortable with it yet. I say it's, you know, I try to tell people an example of like learning a new cell phone, right? You have your cell phone, you know where all the buttons are, you know everything works, and then if somebody gives you a new cell phone, it's like now you have to figure out everything again, and it's not that big a jump. But when you know Discord right now, when I get on Discord, it's just knowing the ease of navigating it is a little bit challenging. I've gotten better and better and better, but I didn't know you could even talk through Discord. Like when I was I was on it with these FAU students, and they're like, okay, let's just talk now, because we were chatting, and I was like, what are you talking about? Aren't you going to call me? And they're like, no, we talked through Discord.
Right here.
Yeah. So anyway, so I kind of digress a little bit, but I always wonder how and why people choose their different ways that they communicate. And it is interesting to hear that you do communicate a lot on Discord through gaming, but there are still some people that haven't, you know, come over to that yet.
Yeah. And I'm the same way that you are with Discord with Slack. Okay. So my agency started using Slack, and I'm like, you can make phone calls in here? This is weird. Like same exact reaction.
Right.
I was like, no, that's not what this is for. And so I fight it a little bit.
It's really because you can build groups in there, right? And you can just kind of special. Yeah.
And you have like channels and private channels, so you can have people be part of a main server. I'm sure Discord's the same way. I just don't know the inner workings, but you can kind of like silo it, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. So then you said, okay, you left there and you started in the software business.
So that was software.
That was software,
what I was doing there. Then I got into talent management with an agency that I was previously with.
Okay. Talent management, like how? I mean, how does that happen?
Yeah.
You know, this, you have an interest in it, or did somebody you're having a drink one time and somebody's like, hey, here's somebody that's an influencer. Yeah.
So one of the recruiters who was getting me in front of Immortals and a few other companies was like, hey, we have this one agency. They do influencer marketing. They have a talent management segment. They're in video games. Would you be interested? And I said, absolutely. Went into those interviews saying, hey, I am in no way qualified other than I like World of Warcraft. And, those are, and with an MBA, I have business sense, but I didn't have direct experience. And the company was kind enough to take a chance and let me actually run their entire talent management segment of their business.
Wow. So you're kind of thrown into the fire.
I was, and it was very hot fire.
Yeah. But, you just said something that I find is, because authenticity is a word, that's obviously used in the space a lot. I think the fact, though, that when you say you don't know something, like I think there's an appreciation of that being authentic. So you going in and saying, listen, I really don't know all of this, but I played World of Warcraft, you know what I mean? And I do have an MBA, and I have an MBA. So if you give me a chance and you give me a little direction, I think I can really do good at this job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was really it. I had never thought about talent management. If you had asked me previously, I'd be like, no, thank you. I'm good. Like, I don't want to do that. I've always been very sales focused and really like sales. And there's actually a very large portion of sales within talent management while you advocate for your talent. So it was a really easy and nice crossover.
So give me like a first and a last, as far as maybe your first experience or your last experience, or just one of your, crazy experiences that either went really well or totally went sideways.
Oh gosh.
There's probably, there's a lot. Like how long were you there? How long were you there? And give me a timeline on like when you started there.
Fortunately for myself, I was only there for a few months until I segued off to start Aftershock.
Okay. All right. So, and then when was that? That's like 2018?
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you leave and start Aftershock because you just thought you could do it better, or what was the reason?
More or less, yes. Having an MBA, they teach you, obviously that's classroom experience, but they teach you how to really analyze a business and their processes and what, works, what doesn't work. And it wasn't just that agency specifically. It exposed me to all the agencies out there and understanding that the status quo was not good enough. When dealing with people like content creators, obviously they're, technically an asset of the company, but they're also still people. And I found too many agencies treat them as, assets in their manufacturing warehouse. And that's not how they are. So I just saw a lot of gaps that I wanted to fill, mostly being creator focused versus client focused.
Okay. Because
it's so easy to be like, oh, this client's giving us, $500,000 budget. Let me cater to them. And kind of forgetting that there's a person and a human behind that YouTube channel or that Twitch channel.
Right. Yeah. So how do you find that talent then? And then how do you marry them to either the brands or these influencer opportunities that they have? And who are you guys representing right now?
Definitely. So I left that previous agency and then was invited to join two of my previous content creators at that agency, which is when we started Aftershock Media Group. So them being the largest global game content creators really set us up for success because, you know, that's a quick intro email, a quick intro chat on Twitter, whatever that may be. It's an easy in while I was still getting my name out there because I wasn't really anyone. Now I'm at a point where a lot of people know who I am, especially in like the partnerships and brand space. So I'm known for being good to work with, managing deals properly, and AMG is known for being a great agency. So now people approach us, but I'll just sit on YouTube. I'll sit on Twitch. I take recommendations a lot of word of mouth. It really just depends. And a big portion of our agency as well isn't just direct talent management, but also just having relationships with existing creators. So that way, when I'm working with one of my clients and they're, you know, building out a campaign, I have a large pool of creators that I can work with that I know are professional and will get out quality content. So not a requirement to sign with AMG in order to work with me.
Okay. And how did you guys come up with the name?
That would be my business partners who came up with that.
They came up with the name that way.
Yeah.
So, all right. So what do you? So can you share some projects that you've worked on recently, or something that's kind of?
Yeah. So we do a lot of production projects with Tencent. So the second anniversary, if anyone saw that, client. Yeah, we ran that entire production from our CEO's, basically from his house. He does full scale production. So we have. I don't know how much I can share, but we have ongoing budget with them on a large scale to run a lot of their events and their PUBG Mobile initiatives. Okay. We also work with a client called Simply Nuck. They are a PC company that has been in B2B for a very long time and are just getting into the gaming space. So as of right now, we've been their agency of record, running all of their launch campaigns into the gaming space.
So can you kind of, I'm just trying to think right now, like when you're talking about these events and running these things, are you going all digital right now? Or are you still, it
all
is
digital? Yep.
Yeah. And so again, kind of give me an idea. So they come with an idea. You've got to marry up the influencers and the talent to this idea, this concept.
Yeah.
Are we talking about videos? Are we talking about tournaments? Are we talking about events? And is it across the board?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah. Tencent has some really awesome and fun initiatives that allow us to be creative, that we can do tournaments and events and videos and, you know, Twitter campaigns. So it's very full scale production, all encompassing for the most part. So
are you part of those plans that when they give you, do they just hand you those plans, or are you guys involved when you say an initiative? So an initiative could be anything, right? I mean, there's a lot of initiatives right now, right?
Yes.
We're trying to, in the world, we're trying to make some big changes. So when you sit down with them and you say you've got a budget and they talk about 6 months or a year, do you say, okay, this is the one initiative we have this year and then this is how we're attacking it? Or do you have like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different campaigns?
It's many campaigns, which can change kind of at the drop of a dime, more or less. When a new update comes up or, you know, an issue comes up, we have to be very agile and flexible in order to work around those.
Okay. And then online, what are you doing on the digital landscape? So are you creating also websites, and are you handling all the social media?
No, we don't handle it for them. Tencent is a very, very large organization. So that's not something we handle, but they look at us kind of as the industry experts for PUBG Mobile in order to handle and manage most of those events. They also work with other agencies, so I won't pretend like we're the only one. But we do a large portion of their PUBG Mobile work.
Okay. Well, like you said, I mean, Tencent may be the largest esports and gaming company right now as far as funding goes in the world. So
absolutely,
that's a fantastic client. So, okay. So that's a client. Now on the talent side, when you're representing, for instance, Surfing Boy. So we talked about him potentially coming to the Ultimate Gamer event, and we have a conversation, and then there's a yes or a no. But who are you representing the talent side? And are people, would you say there's a lot of talent out there right now that requires representation from people like yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So our roster has predominantly been mobile focused because that's how we started. We've since segued into PC and console as well. But being a smaller team and literally grassroots coming from nothing a year ago, we have been modest and careful in our scaling up because, again, you don't have to necessarily be signed with me in order for me to bring you a deal every single day. I don't like to bite off more than I can chew, but we have mobile names like Powerbang, who is one of the top PUBG mobile names out there in the world. We have a lot of the Brawl Stars players, a lot of Clash Royale players. We also share content creators with orgs as well. So we're not an org. So some of our guys are with Tribe Gaming, and those guys are really fantastic. Same thing with Omen Elite. So we kind of share and disperse as well to make sure our guys are taken care of on all fronts.
Well, and when you bring them in, so I love what you said at the beginning. You're different. Your differentiator is that you kind of customize and you treat people really like you want to be treated. You don't just treat them as a number or as like just an asset, you know. So do you have like a specific, do you go out and have drinks with them and like learn about them, or do you like go through a questionnaire or a survey, or like how do you get to know them? Because you really, for your talent and your influencers to do the things you're saying, you kind of need to know who they are, what their core values are, their philosophies, where they want to go.
Absolutely. So I wish I could sit down and get drinks with every single person. Right. Sadly, it's just not possible, especially in COVID times right now. But at least several phone calls, as well as watching a lot of their content, is how I can get to know them. I'm sure you can imagine I've taken many phone calls with people. I'm like, oh, this guy sounds awesome. I watch his stream and he's racist, homophobic, and doesn't like trans people. I'm like, well, that's not a good fit. Right. So it's really just trying to get to know people. Referrals are huge. So a lot of my existing content creators will be like, hey, I have this friend. He's really interested. And that to me is a bit more of a shoe-in, because if I trust this person, I trust what they're saying and who they're referring to me.
Yeah, they've already been vetted.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, you talked about something. I wanted to ask you that question. You kind of segued into it already. So you're very, very strong right now, and a lot of your posting on Twitter, LinkedIn, but really I think Twitter, that I saw some of the things on equality and diversity and what's going on right now. So what are you guys doing specifically for that? I mean, obviously it's very necessary to have communication and discussion, but then there's also, okay, now what are we going to do to really make an impact?
Absolutely. So I'm glad that you saw all of that. It's really, ever since the Black Lives Matter issue has been brought to light, I feel that I want to use my education and my voice and my platform in order to help all people within those sectors of inequality. So a big initiative for me is asking people, send me these people, send me LGBT, send me women. I want to put people at the forefront of campaigns when I can. So it's not me looking to play favoritism. I'm not going to try and fit a, square peg in a round hole. That's, I don't want to do a disservice to my clients. But if I can choose a woman or, a trans person or a Black person who is also a good fit, I want to put them at the forefront, because it will show the younger generation of content creators, the kids playing Fortnite right now, that there are people like them being put in front of brands. And I have that power, more or less, to make that happen. So that is a huge initiative of ours, is to get that out there, that it's not just successful white men that are able to be sponsored, but it's anyone and everyone. They just need their voices to be heard.
So is that on the talent side, or is that in any
capacity? Okay. Anything I can do, any connection. A big thing for me, I'm not a person that I'm like, oh, I want a finder's fee for making this connection or making this referral. I'll throw out intro emails all day, every day, in order to get people in front of the right people necessary to make really cool things happen. So the more content creators I know, the more brands I know, the more community managers I know, the more I can just help connect and like spread people properly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I've had a lot of discussions recently about that. And I know another word and another area that people are really trying to focus on is access. There's just, for a lot of people, they're either underserved, they don't have the opportunity. And so allowing them to have the access, and then, like you said, also the eyeballs, letting, for instance, you and I are on this podcast right now. If a young woman sees it and sees you and I talking, then maybe she looks up to you and says, okay, well, I can be a young woman in esports, or I can be a black, whether it's a male, female, transgender, anything. You have that opportunity, but if you don't get an opportunity to see those things, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. right?
Exactly.
That's the thing. You just don't know what you don't know. And so I love that. I love what you're doing there. And one of the ways that I see that you're doing that now is, I believe you guys started the Next Level talk show. So
that is correct.
Is it a talk show like it's going to be on linear TV, or you're just calling it a talk show? It's basically a podcast as well.
It's essentially a live podcast. The reason we called it talk show is because Next Level is used in so many different ways that talk show was what was available for website, LLC, et cetera. So like
sure.
On the reality side of things, that's what we went for. But what we do is once a week, we have our show live on Twitch. We then save it in the VOD format on YouTube. We have editors that are editing it, cutting it for clips. That's how it exists.
Yeah. So how did you guys decide to do it live? Because of course that's always, doing it live is like a streamer too, right? You're just going this live, and all of my pods, and I didn't even say it at the beginning of this one. Normally I do. I say, don't worry, we're rolling, and we'll and we'll do all the posts afterwards, and we'll do all the editing afterwards. And so I never worry about that because I'm not live. But were you a streamer before you actually started your podcast? Oh, no, you hadn't done it. Okay.
I never wanted to get into content creation. I actually preach that. All of my content creators are like, Amanda, you're so personable. You're so fun. You're so cool. You should be a content creator. And I'm like, no, thank you. Right. I'm okay.
Right.
I don't like to be put on the spot like that personally. Right. Plus I feel understanding what they do so much. There's so much pressure. There's so much pressure behind what they do. I can't even imagine.
But you made the leap.
We did. So my co-host, Aaron, he is the content programmer and influencer marketing manager for DreamHack, approaches me, I think it was, because we've only had 6 episodes so far, so we're very new, approached me almost 2 months ago and was like, hey, do you want to be a co-host on a talk show? And I said, absolutely, I do. Because the idea behind it is educating and giving back to the community. So I never wanted to create content for the sake of creating content or chit chat or gossip. That is not me or how I care to represent myself. But with my extensive knowledge and the fact that I'm in a position of decision making, I wanted to give back. I wanted to lift the veil, if you will, on the secrets that are sponsorships and partnerships, because there's such a stigma of, oh, you need a manager to make this happen. Oh, you need professional help. And I agree, yes, but I also think there are steps you as a content creator can make in order to get yourself there and set yourself up for success. So that was my motivation behind wanting to start it, is to help people.
Yeah, I love it. And when he came to you with that, you at that point, you weren't thinking about it so much. He came to it and you said, I want to jump in. How did you decide on the format, and because it's once a week now and you're doing it live and then you're putting it up so that people can see it and post, and what are your topics? Do you say, okay, we're bringing in a new guest every week? Is it just the two of you? Because I actually watched one, but I only watched the one. Yeah, I watched the one.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's the same every week. So it's the two of you as co-hosts. Then you had a guest on, and I can't remember what the topic was off the top of my head, but did the next week, was it the same format, or do you change format every week?
So to answer your first question, we were doing restreaming across all platforms until we decided we would just stick with Twitch. The reason I like the live format, and there's nothing against pre-recorded content at all, but because we're in a position of education, we wanted to help people on the spot and show that there's no secrets, there's no mystical, magical tricks. We just wanted it to be like an open, honest forum so you could catch all of the raw information in a raw format. That was really our goal behind that. And then the VODs are just recorded for the sake of people that can't catch a 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time show can watch it later.
So when you guys are recording, then people can actually chat with you and there's Q&A?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we have chat going the entire time. So our mods will bring our attention to, things that are important, moderate the chat for people that get a little crazy. And I think it gives a really fun, in the moment intensity. But I do appreciate this very casual format. I don't feel like I'm on the spot.
You mean right now?
Yes, right now.
Yeah. So and that's why I asked how you guys decided on your format, because when I started talking to the Ultimate Gamer, the guys from the Ultimate Gamer, and everything that we're doing, this is just one piece of 10 different verticals that are going on right now, but it lives in the content house. And I said, listen, I know a lot of people in the industry right now. There's a lot of information that's great that should be out there. And there are some people that are doing it, but I can create this format, which is more of a casual. We'll just have conversations. And I think it could really live out there into perpetuity, and people can just pick it up and watch it when they want to watch it. And so far, it's we've done like 35 podcasts in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So there's been a lot, and you know this. There's a lot to doing a live show, which I want to know, like how many people you had, because you said you had a moderator, and then there's the two of you. For me, it's just me. It's just me and the guest, and that's all it is. And tomorrow, for the first time, we're having the Ultimate Gamer Studio experience. So that'll be the first time that we'll have an actual studio. Yeah. So I'll have 7 or 8 guests in the matter of 3 days, and that's how I'm used to doing this type of thing. I'm not used to Zoom, and it's kind of long-winded the way I want to say that. But one of the things I love that you guys did is I think the most important thing, especially if you're a content creator, is just do it. Like sometimes you overthink it, right? People overthink it, paralysis analysis, paralysis. They just don't, and they think it, and then they don't do it. It sounds to me like you guys had this idea 2 months ago, and 2 weeks later, you shot your first episode.
So we shot our episode 6 days later, and I was able to secure a Blue Mic sponsorship before our first episode.
Wow.
Because all this equipment that you see here behind me, I don't have this kind of stuff. I use AirPods for my meetings. This doesn't exist in my world. So it was very just like, okay, let's go. And I've never done a podcast, done a talk show. I've never hosted anything. So I'm just, sometimes even now still 6 episodes in, I just kind of freeze and I'm like, help.
Yeah, well, that's great to have a co-host in that sense, I guess, right? So how many people are there then? So you're in a small studio, or are you in your house?
I'm in my apartment. Yeah.
Okay.
My couch is right there. My
when you shoot Next Level Talk Show, are you there?
I'm right here. So my webcam's over here, and it just has a different angle. Because this was so ad hoc, I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment, so I don't have another room to go to. So I'm at the mercy of what I have architecturally around me, I guess.
Right. And then, but your co-host is Torben. Is that his?
Yes. Yeah, that's his handle.
And your handle is, how do you say your handle again?
Oh, Leilani.
Okay, Leilani. It's
been my gamer tag in World of Warcraft forever, and I just can't let it go.
Okay. So you're shooting live, and did you tell me the format that you're on? Are you on, or the channel that you're on? Or do you guys use Zoom, or what do you use as far as that?
So we have been working on production. So Torben runs all of our production. He's a godsend. I am not an OBS master by any means. He's on me to teach me, and I don't want to learn, but I know I need to.
All right.
We utilize Discord voice and OBS Ninja for video. Because we are showing websites and screenshots of the analytics live, we found that those tools allow for us, in whatever production he's doing, to facilitate all of that in a smooth way. So we use several tools in order to actually make that happen.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I don't have anything like that.
Yeah. Me either.
So talk to me a little bit about your chemistry, because I had Matt Hillman on, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and he's with Cut and Sew, and he was doing a podcast called The Lighthearted Podcast with Josh Hart, and they're good friends growing up. So the two of them would, kind of similar to, it sounds like you and Torben, they would be together, and then they would be interviewing somebody, but they were doing it all live. This was before, or not live, in person, IRL, because it was before COVID and everything. They haven't done it since, but what you guys are doing, you threw your first one right on. So you're throwing yourself in the deep end. You're on live, and you haven't worked on this at all as far as really recording together, right? So how did the chemistry work, and where do you think you guys are today compared to 6 weeks ago?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. We have gotten along since we've known each other, which hasn't been a long time. I met him for the first time at PAX East this year in Boston, so that was just end of February. And we've just gotten along very well. I respect everything he does, and I think he feels the same way about me. I respect everything he's doing, and we think similar ways on a lot of things, which made this a very natural fit, that I'm not sitting there disagreeing with him, or vice versa, that we're typically on the same page a lot of the time. But a big thing for each of us is he's a talker, I'm a talker, and we're trying not to interrupt each other and our guest. That's like a big triangle of don't talk over each other. So a lot of our dance on our show, if you will, is learning how to flow with each other. Me learning that when he takes a pause, it's my turn to jump in. If I have something that, for me and my inexperience, if I need help, professional ways to segue over to him without being like deer in the headlights. That was me one time that my brain actually, I think, turned off and was like, I don't know what to say, man, please help. And that was live on camera, which is fine, but
right.
I prefer not to do things that way.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. I go through that. Even, even just talking to you earlier, there's sometimes you're talking about something and I had a question I wanted to ask you, but I don't want to interrupt you because you're talking and you're really going on. And then all of a sudden I noticed that you're going to finish saying something. I'm like, oh my God, what was I going to say? And I totally forget. Right. So, but it seems to me like you guys are enjoying it.
Yeah.
You're enjoying it. And then when you look at what's next, like what are some of the things that you see when you said 10 in the morning. So what day of the week is it? 10 in the morning, Pacific Coast time. And then where can people watch it?
Yeah. So we are on every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/nextleveltsc, which just stands for Talk Show Consulting, but all the names in the world are taken. So we had to get creative.
Okay. And then your next show is going to be about,
so how our format, we're actually adjusting our format. So initially we wanted to have a 1 month cycle of having one large content creator on, two small ones, one large one, two industry people. That way we could cover a lot of different topics and do analytics and data on different types of channels, then bring in some industry pros, people such as yourself to talk about their experiences, what they look for, etc. And we're just learning that that's cool and that's fine. But now that we've had some success, we average anywhere from just 2 months in, 30 to 75 concurrents, that we need to use our platform to help and educate people in significantly other ways, which is why this month we had our inequality discussion where we still had our content creators on, but then we left the last 30, 40 minutes for inequality discussions.
Okay.
We are working on bringing in like what we're calling tech and wellness. So there are streamers that don't know how to use XLR mics like the one I have, or they don't know how to use OBS. So we want to educate people on technology as well as physical and mental well-being, the stigma of, that streamer who streams for 36 hours straight and drinks 15 Red Bulls and his heart's ready to explode. That face you just made is the face I make when my content creators tell me that. So I just want to educate people on safe supplements, safe eating habits, safe fitness is huge for me, not on Twitter, but I have fitness sponsors on Instagram. I'm very ingrained in it and it's a passionate topic for me that I think people need to know more and understand how to keep themselves physically and mentally healthy.
Yeah, it's that conversation continues to happen, right? When I first got into this about 3 or 4 years ago, my kids are 14 and 11. They were 8 and 11 at that time. And I was saying, I want them, they're gamers. They game like all the time, and they're big. And so there's a whole series of topics that we could talk about my kids. But health and nutrition, or health, diet, nutrition, rest and recovery, those are all big parts of physical activity of me looking at the space going, okay, I don't want my kids to stop gaming, but what can we do to really leverage the fact that they're so passionate about gaming, they love it, and still have a very healthy lifestyle that they can lead. So I love that you guys are talking about it. We need to all continue talking about it and then figure out ways. And, I've talked to some people that some of the VR that's going on, there's some really great potential there. But
absolutely.
Even just gaming for, 20 minutes. I have Dr. Dan is the Florida Panthers, and I probably said this on a pod previously, but he's the Florida Panthers doctor down here in South Florida. And we talked about gaming, and he said 20-20-20 rule. And the 20-20-20 rule, originally you have this already listening. Like I thought I knew what he's talking about already. I was like, 20-20 vision, yeah, I get it, whatever. And he's like, no, 20 minutes. If you game for 20 minutes, you should stand up for 20 seconds and look at something 20 feet away, because that will recalibrate your eyes. Because your eyes are a muscle, and so if you sit there and you just game and you never look away from the screen, you're like flexing the entire time, and it's really bad for your eyes. Yeah, and it makes your eyes tight. Yeah, exactly, right. And so those kind of little things that are easy for you and I to remember. Yeah, and then share about wearing glasses when you're playing so that you protect your eyes from the blue light. So I love that you guys are doing that, and I think that's a conversation we need to keep having, and then we need to instill that in all gamers.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I look at your influencers. I look at the talent that you represent as the people that really can do a lot of that. I saw a year ago, 2 years ago, when Ninja signed a deal with Red Bull, and the first thing I think they did is some gear or merch was like a headband. I'm like, why are they doing a headband? Why don't they do blue light glasses?
Yeah.
Would be brilliant. And they probably sell millions of them because
absolutely.
Parents would buy them for their kids. Because right now, most parents have no idea. They have no idea. They don't need, and for themselves either, because we're all being subject to this blue light. So tell me a little bit about expansion for the. I mean, I'd love to go back to some stuff about Aftershock Media if you want to tell me a few more things that you're doing. But I also saw on your feed that you guys are expanding. I guess it's doing well. The next level, the team. So it says, mod, social media intern, video. This is a great opportunity for students to get involved with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're finding is very quickly, as I mentioned, Blue Mike was kind enough to support us from the get-go. I'm pretty close with the intern market manager. So yes, that did help, but I sent him my full page write-up pitch and I'm like, hey man, this is what we're doing. Is there anything you can do? Because we are getting ready to have to spend like $2,000 on equipment in the middle of COVID when, money's tight and things are a little tough. And he was like, this is incredible. We support this initiative. Go. We then secured our next sponsor, Shot Call, which is incredible. Great platform we talk about often. And we're now wrapping to hopefully secure our third sponsorship. And the reason I'm mentioning all of this is not to plug them on your podcast, is to explain that we're ramping so quickly that we can't personally keep up. I have a full-time agency that I run with my partners. Torben works full-time. I don't have the time to take my own feedback and post on our Twitter three to 6 times a day. And to me, that looks terrible. I'm preaching this to X amount of people a week, and I can't even do it myself. So we're looking to expand in the areas of social media, video production, mods, and potentially a backup co-host in order to make sure everything's running smoothly. Our creators that we have on have a good experience. Our guests have a good experience, and that the show runs smoothly, because it's so easy to drop the ball and be like, wait, did you do that? No, I didn't do that. You didn't do that. Shit, nobody did that. And last minute you're scrambling, which happened yesterday.
Yeah, well, it happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a star now. You're in media, so that's a challenge. Finding talent is a challenge.
Luckily not yet, because how well connected we are. But there's also people that are a good fit and also aren't a good fit. So we give very constructive criticism on people's channels, which can be difficult and can potentially ruin a relationship that I have with someone. So we also have to be specific and selective about who we bring on, because you have to be open-minded to the feedback and the information. Otherwise, it's going to be a big battle of playing defense.
Yeah. And I just know I've posted in the past. I posted jobs online, and I'm not trying to, throw anybody under the bus here, but that could be a challenge, right? Because you get 1,000 people to respond, and out of 1,000 people, 990 of them may have absolutely no talent or no skill at what you actually posted as far as the job goes. So
exactly.
Yeah, it is good to have a network and reach out to a network and say, hey, here's this opportunity. And I love the fact that you guys are doing that, because I always think the gaming industry can offer some of the best real life experience for interns and kids coming out of college. And that's the best time for them to do it, because at that time, really, they're just looking for experience more so than money.
Exactly. And that's when you're 21, 22, you can afford to do something unpaid or paid very low, versus me being 20 years old. Like, I have rent, I have bills, I have all of these things that you can't take a, very low or unpaid job.
Yeah. So I can't keep you all day. I know you're busy and you're flying all over the place right now. And I could tell just by what you were saying, we both said we're busy, but you're juggling now your career and now this opportunity that I think will be great for you, because I think it'll offer you that opportunity to create more exposure and preach this message that you can share with people, and then also talk about what you do professionally. But what's Aftershock? What's big on the horizon for you guys?
So a big thing for us, we started bringing on interns as well. So I believe we have about 4 or 5 interns that have been helping us, which has been absolutely incredible. For a very long time, it was just the 3 of us, which for me, running all of talent, all of sales, I mean, I slept. I just don't remember when. Right. So it's nice to just, have the help. So a big thing for me and my initiatives, and I know my team members as well, is just teaching these guys and girls, and training them on, etiquette and talking to influencers. That's nothing you can learn in school. You have to learn it hands-on. And ultimately for me, it's kind of like letting go of the wheel a little bit, because I can be a bit of a control freak and being like, hey, I taught you, go ahead, go and take it. So a big thing of ours is just slowly growing our team in a scalable way that we can also afford, but taking on a lot of the more advertising projects. So we have our talent management segment, which is, our roster that I run. And then we also have our full scale influencer marketing advertising segment that can be related to our roster, but we run many campaigns that aren't related to any of our guys. So our big initiatives are, of course, taking care of nurturing and maintaining our current roster. Not totally sure we're looking to grow that, but a big portion is this advertising, like what I was talking about with Tencent, Simply Nuts. We work heavily with OnePlus. A lot of other brands are looking to expand. And I look at us as some of the industry leaders and experts in order to lead them in the right direction, as well as kind of like our differentiator while taking care of content creators. So I'm finding a lot of companies now are evaluating agencies, not just based off of what they can do, but how they're known in the industry and how they treat content creators is kind of coming to light a lot for me. I was on a call with one of my clients and he was like, I heard that so-and-so agency doesn't take care of content creators. I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. That's a big thing that people now look at. So be careful if you're not.
Yeah, that's your reputation. That's your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And you said something very important. And when you're looking at talent, I think etiquette, I think that's one of the biggest things right now that I would share, that I love that you said. And I find that, and the reason I say this is because you were awesome at this. So when I sent the first message to you, your response was almost immediate. Like it was super fast. Sometimes that happens, just timing, and you get lucky, right? Right. But then other times, then the second message comes, and then it's a more delayed response. But yours is boom, boom, boom. And I think what happens a lot of times, and I'm dealing with a young talent down here. I'm not on the side you guys are, but I know people all, across the spectrum in a whole bunch of different areas. To me, that is probably one of the most, if not the most important thing, is communication and follow-up. And some people in the world that we live in today, if I send you a message, unless you're on, you're on a call like this, you're doing something. If you see the message, there should be a response. It should be a response.
Exactly.
Not just within 24 hours, because within 24 hours these days is a long time. And
budget's taken up in 24 hours.
Yeah, and sometimes
Budget's
it's just
gone.
yes or no. It's just me saying, "Hey, Amanda, is Surfing Boy available?" And then if I have to wait 24 hours, yeah, right, yes or no.
Yeah,
then,
you need to fill the spot.
Exactly. And so I get very frustrated with that, and I hear my wife the same thing, and I just find that. So I always try to do that. And I say that because you brought it up as far as etiquette goes, and I think that's one of the things to teach young people, because I don't know if they really understand that yet. And sometimes they think if they get the call that it's always going to be there, but it's not. It can be gone very quickly.
Exactly. And I love that you share those same values. To me, it's something I preach. And I know you've seen me typing here. I'm literally telling people on podcast, we'll get back to you, because people are so used to my immediate response. And I pride myself on it, because I am literally taking these people's livelihoods and their businesses, and I'm pretty responsible for it. I'm not making their content, but I'm essentially a business partner to them. Your business partner's not responding. That's kind of off-putting. So for me, I appreciate a timely response, because again, budget's going to be gone. If you take 24 hours to get back to me, I likely have to replace you in a campaign. In your case of a podcast, you needed someone for that day, you need to know immediately. I don't want to sit there and make you wait. That's rude and inconsiderate. So I try and teach people okay, I get you're busy, I get you're on calls, but no update is an update. And when you go 2 or 3 days not saying anything to me after I've asked for an update, and then you say, oh, sorry, I didn't have an update. That's the update. I have no update. That needs to be said more often, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I know you've got to get going, but I wanted to ask you about Surfing Boy, just
no
because
rush.
rush. Okay. That's usually I make sure that I keep these to an hour, because I know people.
Oh my gosh, the time already.
Yeah. It happens. It goes so fast.
Yeah.
But with Surfing Boy, because you guys are in LA, and you did say that Misfits Gaming is out there in LA as well, but he's here. He's in South Florida.
Correct.
So how did you guys find each other? And you said that you were. I guess what I'm saying is I'm looking at different projects that maybe we can work on together and we could collaborate with. So when somebody like myself or whether it's a brand or somebody's looking to you guys and they're looking to create a relationship and collaborate with you guys, and they want to know how you find your talent and how you find the people that you're working with, the brands. It's just kind of, it's an overarching, and you said it already, some of it's word of mouth, but I'm very curious because Surfer Boy's right here in our backyard. So I just would like to do
all
some more
word
things.
of mouth.
Yeah. He's a
word
mobile
of mouth
gamer.
with Surfer Boy. Exactly. Yeah. So how we met Surfer Boy is just word of mouth. And he's incredible. He's been signed to us, I think, literally the entire extent of our agency now. He's been with us, and he is amazing. And that's really how a lot of our relationships are. And, for example, if you needed more people in South Florida, I think I actually have maybe a couple more, but if I didn't, I have a lot of other managers and agencies that I personally work very closely with that I trust, that I would then reach out to and be like, hey, my client so-and-so is looking for people in the geographical area. Do you have anyone? So that's how I would potentially source additional people that I may not have kind of like in my own pocket.
Right. How do you work with the org? So Surfer Boy's obviously he's signed to Misfits Gaming.
Yes.
And now you guys are working with him as well. Do you work closely with the org because you have to know what they're legally, or like how you can represent, right?
So we typically are just able to look at their contract. So I actually worked with him very closely in renegotiating his contract this year. So I'm very familiar with the terms, but as far as with orgs, we're as hands-on or hands-off as they'd like. With Misfits specifically, we're not terribly hands-on because they're not actively bringing him sponsor deals and brand deals regularly. They have their org sponsors, and those maintain the same. They typically don't change too often. So as long as I don't bring him deals that conflict with that, things are pretty smooth.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Well, anything else? Because we're closing up. Is there anything we missed that you wanted to cover?
No, I think we covered all the things that seem relevant, and it's been really fun and awesome. I love that you also, first off, you're incredible at what you do. Like, I'm sitting here impressed, like, how do I interview people like you? So kudos to that. That's incredible.
So I think the funny thing is, and I would disagree with you, right? I would say I'd be very critical of myself, right? Because my wife is an actor. So when I see this stuff she does, I'm like, oh, I'm just blown away. I'm like, there's just no way. The thing that and I think that's what we were talking about, authenticity and chemistry with you guys earlier. I think try to be good at the things you're good at. And I've always been good at just like being casual and conversational, but I also make sure that I do my homework before I get on with anybody. So I have some things to talk about. You're easy to talk to, but sometimes, most of my guests, it's not me, right? 90% of it is them. If I throw them a question, they can just go, right? And once in a while, you actually have to jump in and say, that's been 10 minutes that they've been going. You need to kind of break it just,
Yeah.
So it doesn't just not one voice. But I think that's probably the big thing I found is that I feel like going in that I'm pretty well prepared. My biggest struggle is when I can't find a lot of information on somebody. That's the hardest thing.
I could see that. Definitely. Yeah.
So for like you guys, I mean, you guys have, I love the podcast. We spent a lot of time talking about your podcast today because you just released it 6 weeks ago, and you guys have got quite a bit of information out there on your podcast. You know? But a lot of times when I talk to Wim Stocks, I don't know if you've heard of Wim Stocks, but he's he's CSL. And I mean, we could have talked about like just from the 70s and 80s with him because he has such a history, and then go the 80s and 90s. And then, we kind of just skipped almost all your previous history and went straight to the last year or two.
Irrelevant.
So you're awesome. I think you guys are doing amazing things. I'm going to tune in. I'm looking forward to seeing what your next topic is. And I think you guys are going to get better and better. I love your format too, because it's interactive with people. I don't have an interactive format right now. So it's just you and me.
Oh, thank you. Seriously, I appreciate all the kind words, man. Like, obviously it's great to be, recognized and people enjoy it. And that's my main focus is like, I just want to help people. I just want to bring education. I want to, not have all of what we do on the back end be so secret. It is accessible. There is no secret formula that my agency hides and keeps from everyone. Like, I just want this information to be readily available so people, don't get so discouraged.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's awesome, Amanda. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
I'd like to thank Amanda for sharing her time, experience, and knowledge with us today. As she mentioned early in our conversation, she's a sharp when it comes to business and esports, and she protects her clients fiercely. She's driven to educate and believes strongly in advocating for the underserved, less privileged, and those who feel rejected by society. She's being the change she seeks in the world. You can listen to Amanda again now, and you can also find time-stamped segments of the show, links to her social pages, and more information about her company, projects, and media in the show notes. If you enjoyed our discussion, please let us know. Continue the conversation with me across all social platforms. Become a part of the Ultimate Gamer community today by subscribing at ultimategamer.com. We release a new show every day of the week, Monday through Friday, so be the first to join us for some outstanding upcoming guests and or dive back into the library of previous All About the Game pods to hear from some of the most brilliant minds in the space. Experts like head of esports at Full Sail University, Bennett Newsom, writer-journalist for the Esports Insider and Benzinga, Crystal Mills, and former NFL All-Pro and founder of Sports ID, Ryan McNeil, just to name a few. You can find all of these episodes and more on the Ultimate Gamer website, on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your pods. And finally, please like, rate, and review the show. It helps us reach the gaming community to spread the word and share the wisdom of our guests, as well as some of the most thought-provoking stories in the industry. Shout out, as always, to the Ultimate Gamer. I look forward to being with you on the next All About the Game podcast.